Hello, and welcome to Bottom Line. We have a really important show for you today, and we're going to be talking and learning more about Alzheimer's disease. And I'd like to welcome my guest for today's show. She's the program manager with the Alzheimer's Association of America here in Michigan, Trina Horton. Welcome, Trina, to the show.
Thank you so much, Cindy.
You know, this is something that maybe people have heard the term and heard the name and just wondered, and then they think, you know, they've heard about losing your memory as you age and what's normal, what's not. Maybe as we start the show, we could level set, Trina, by just wondering what is considered Alzheimer's disease?
Sure. Alzheimer's disease, it's the most common cause of dementia. So it is not a normal part of aging. It's a progressive brain disease, and meaning that it gets worse over time.
And if you can talk about to the Alzheimer's Association of America and how that got started and kind of the history of that as it's helping individuals.
Sure. The Alzheimer's Association started back in 1980 by Mr. Stone and a group of family caregivers and individuals who recognized the need for an organization. He was taking care of his wife at the time, and so it really started with him. And then it spread across the United States, that we have chapters in every state.
And that is just amazing. And I think one of the things that you mentioned too is important, that Alzheimer's is one of the things that causes dementia, because sometimes I think people think those terms are synonymous can you talk a little bit about what are some of the signs that people should look out for? Like you said, it's not, a normal part of aging. So we want to always think, oh gosh, what should we look out for?
Sure. And I also want to just define dementia. Dementia is a general term. It's not a disease within itself. It's a term that means that there are some cognitive changes. There are some declines. And there could be several reasons why a person has dementia. It could be because of a stroke. It could be because of a head injury, Parkinson's. There are over 100 different types of dementia, with Alzheimer's disease being the most common. So some of the risk factors, or I should say some of the warning signs, are short-term memory loss. That's one of the first. And then we look at the challenges in planning and solving problems, difficulty completing familiar tasks, confusion with time or place, and even trouble with understanding visual images and our spatial relationships. We can have difficulty with new problems, with words, speaking or writing. And how about misplacing things? And I can explain that a little bit more later, because I know sometimes we all panic when we lose things, but it's having that ability to backtrack is what we're looking for. We all have that ability to lose something, but backtracking is important. A person with Alzheimer's disease is losing the ability to backtrack. And then there's a decreased or poor judgment when we're making decisions. And you may even notice that a person withdraws from work or social activities. And then there could be changes in mood or personality. But not everyone is going to go through all of these 10 warning signs.
And what would you think is an age group where you would start seeing this? And are you seeing it, in earlier, younger adults these days? Or is it more in the elderly population?
Well, age is a risk factor. So over the age of 85, there are up to 50% can have a form of dementia, specifically 30% for those with Alzheimer's. But we are seeing where people are being diagnosed younger and younger, people in their 40s, even some in their 30s. So there are cases, it's a lower percentage, but there are cases, and especially if it's in your family, if you have a parent, it does increase the risk of developing.
And if you are looking at your mother, your father, or so on, let's use that maybe as an example, and you're starting to think about all those kind of warning signs saying that these things that could happen, how do you know when to say, okay, I think that's serious enough that we should go versus once in a while? Is it something that you start seeing on a daily basis that you should start worrying with a parent or a loved one or a spouse?
Right. Is it affecting a person's daily activities? That's something that we want to look at. Can that person still do the things that they used to do? I'm going to say like completing a task. Can they still complete the task? Can they complete the thought? Are they having trouble with paying their bills? These are some of the common things that families start to notice early on. So if you're seeing some of those changes in your person or even in yourself, this is where I might want to seek information. I might want to talk about it with my physician, and because there could be other things that mimic Alzheimer's. So it's always important to talk with your physician and find out what else might be going on.
And I think, Treena, that's an excellent, just even if you start seeing things, it doesn't mean it is happening or not, but it can't hurt to go see your physician and ask, and find out more, because it's better to probably catch it earlier than later if you can. You mentioned about hereditary and if it's in your family and that. Is that the most common where you see it, if it's hereditary or genetic?
I'm going to say no. A great percentage don't have anyone in their family. And again, remembering that that age is a risk factor. And there's some other risk factors that we could definitely talk about.
Sure, go ahead if you wanted to. Yeah, that would be perfect.
Sure. One of those risk factors could be the fact that you're a woman. Women are more likely, and there's a lot of studies going on about that. Does it have to do with hormones? Is it because women sometimes live longer? These things are still being analyzed and researched, but also genetics, that plays a part. Untreated diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all of these things can increase our risk. People who are African American, they are twice as likely. Hispanics are 1.5 times more likely to develop Alzheimer's. So there's a lot of risk factors that are involved. Even our environment. So there's many things that we're looking at.
And when you mention that, I'm kind of curious with the environment. What might be things in our environment that maybe we're not thinking about as it relates?
Yeah, highly polluted areas. We are definitely hearing more and more about that from our researchers. Certain areas that people are living in, it seems that they tend to have a higher risk of developing Alzheimer's. So, yes.
That to me, it's just amazing if you think about all those factors that can happen. Genetics, maybe not. Maybe it's just health reasons, and it could be environmental reasons, or it could just be that you're, like you said, African American or a woman. That makes it higher risk. Is this something that the sooner you can get a hold of it, the sooner you can help try to manage the symptoms?
We always like to encourage early detection because, we are now seeing some of the treatments that people are able to take advantage of. Some of these treatments are very hopeful that can maybe decrease some of the plaques that are being seen in the brain. We still have years ahead to really see some of the changes, but we are excited about what we are seeing already, and we already know that we have clients that are taking these medications. The other thing is resources. It's important to know that there are resources, that there are services available. So that's another reason why early detection is important. I do want to mention, because I know that it can sound so daunting what I'm saying, but we also want to talk about those 10 healthy habits for our brain, and how that may help to lower that risk as well. So,
and that's a great segue if you would like to go ahead and do it, because I think, as you said, the 10 healthy habits will also help us in possibly preventing or delaying or the intensity of the disease.
absolutely. So even if it's in your family, we say work on these 10 healthy habits, because it doesn't mean that just because my parent has it that I will definitely develop. We want to protect our brains as much as we can. So one of those is protecting your head, making sure that you're avoiding any head trauma. So if you like to ride bikes, if you have a motorcycle, make sure you're wearing your helmet. Make sure that you're being careful on the day where there's lots of ice. We can't tell you how many people have major falls every year on the ice and hitting their head. So making sure you're careful for that. Making sure even in your house that there's not the clutter where I can trip and fall over things. So protecting your head. The other is to keep learning. Keep your brain active. Take a class. Learn a language. There's so many things that we can do even online. So we say stay in school, all right? And then managing those numbers, managing if we're diabetic, making sure that we're taking our medication, making sure we're watching our numbers as far as cholesterol and high blood pressure, watching those numbers, maintaining a healthy weight, also a healthy diet. And when we talk about the diet, we're talking about those fruits and vegetables and lean meats. We're talking about nuts and, even the Mediterranean diet. A lot of health professionals are recommending that Mediterranean diet. So a lot of fresh food, right? Being smoke-free, that is another area that can really increase the risk. If people are smoking, find a way to stop. And then keep moving. Exercise in whatever form. Talk to your doctor about that as well, because everyone can't do everything, but we can all keep moving, even if that means chair exercises or walking. Keep moving. That is so important.
And, Treena, every single one of those things, is helpful just, for anyone of any age, even to have it in our children and, adults and teenagers, and that to just, do all those things just to keep healthier, and take care of our bodies, take care of our heads, because sometimes we forget about that, if you're going for a bike ride, maybe, try to use a belt, bike helmet, all those type of things. And I think, I noticed that I know a lot of people, as I see all of us aging, some of us, everybody's like, yep, I'm going to do the, word search puzzles, or they're going to do crossword puzzles or Sudoku or something to keep the brain, always moving, kind of keep the brain healthy as well. Are there ways to maybe keep our brain healthy like that maybe we don't think about, that aren't as obvious as doing a crossword puzzle or word search?
Any type of reading and As far as, there's so much out there online that you can do reading. But another thing that I wanted to mention, a couple of things actually, and that is how important our sleep is. Believe it or not, that is helpful for our brain. We need to be getting the adequate sleep. Now, it may be different for everybody, but it's when you feel rested. And so if you're having trouble with sleeping, it's really important to talk to your doctor. We want to make sure we're all getting enough oxygen to that brain. So sleep is so important, and that's hard. That's hard for us as we age to do. But there's some things that we can maybe do as far as helping us with the sleep, right? Maybe for you, it's that I need a nightlight, or it's I need to make sure everything is turned off. I need to turn off the television. They're saying turn it off an hour before you're ready for bed. Get into your bed, read something, listen to some nice music. These are some things that can help us to relax so that maybe we can get better sleep. Avoiding the caffeine. My doctor has told me after 12 noon, no more coffee. So that was devastating for me. But if that's what I need to do, then that's what I'm going to do. The other thing is stress. Stress is, so many people are dealing with stress. And that is something that can really affect so many areas. And believe it or not, it's going to affect our mental health. So making sure that we are trying to get rid of the bad stress as much as we can.
And maybe you can talk about that, because I know there are some steps to take to manage stress. Not only do we, as you mentioned, want to manage our health, get the sleep, but, we all are dealing with stress, and we all deal with it in maybe different ways, and it affects us maybe physically more than others in certain ways. But can you talk about maybe what are some of the ways we could help kind of reduce the stress? And again, not only for Alzheimer's, but also I think just for our health.
Yes. Connecting with others, that is so important. Connect with a professional. There's care consultation out there. The Alzheimer's Association, we offer that for our caregivers because we know that they're dealing with a lot of stress. Care consultation with our licensed master level social workers. And those services are free of charge. But for anyone else, maybe you can see a therapist, you can see a counselor, a social worker. So there's so many ways that we can connect with other people, whether it be professional or maybe it's just a friend. Socializing also is important, and it's another way to eliminate our stress. We're finding that people who tend to live alone or are alone a good part of the day seem to be at higher risk. So socializing is important. Meditating, however you do that, yoga, just various ways of meditating to relax your body, to get rid of some of that stress.
Right. And again, that can help us, and everybody can find a way that helps them reduce stress. Like you said, for somebody, it might be yoga. For someone, it might be reading. Someone, it might just be listening to some music and that. But again, just helping us day to day on doing that. And you mentioned too, I think what's so important with the Alzheimer's Association is also taking care of caregivers. Because sometimes I think, we forget about those that have to deal with that. And I know that you have, groups that they can be a part of there.
Yes. Lots of free services, such as our support groups. We have support groups for the caregiver. We also have support groups for those who are in the early stages and need that place where they have a safe space where they can talk to others who are experiencing memory loss as well. So the support groups, we have education programs, where we're talking on all topics, various topics. And these are done virtually as well as in person. We have a whole list on our website. We try to We try to get into every county as much as possible with these classes. We also have social engagement. For those who are at any stage, they can tap in to social engagement. And our social engagement, we are partnering with some community organizations, such as the Detroit Zoo, the Detroit Institute of Arts, the Henry Ford Museum. So they have time specifically for our clients and their caregivers to enjoy some of what they are offering. They have gone through our training so that they know how to talk to and work with those that have dementia. So, and again, those are free of charge as well.
One of the things you mentioned about education, how do you educate and help, and more so explain this to maybe younger children, maybe the grandchildren, or people who aren't familiar as much with it? How are you able to, especially like with children, to share with them what's happening to their loved one?
Yes, well, we do have information on our website, and I'm happy to share that with you if you want to be able to send that out to your listeners or make that available. But we do have a section on our website that's dedicated for resources for children and how to talk to them. And then there's also books. There are books that are available on Amazon or other local places where you can get your books. That are specific to certain ages for children, for the teens, for those who are younger. And so it's a great way to explain to children what's happening to their grandparent or their parent even.
Which is wonderful because, again, the education and whether it's a book for certain levels and certain that can just help, because not everyone's going to know exactly how to say the right thing to their children, maybe at the right age and in the right way. If we're looking at Alzheimer's Association, of America, there's so many great things and programs. You're helping out the individuals who are suffering with it, the caretakers, the education. I know there's research. How can people help? What are ways that they can give, or can they volunteer time or fundraisers to kind of help?
Oh, absolutely. People can give a donation online. They can put it through the mail. They can stop by our office if it's local here in the Metro Detroit area. But also you can get involved by volunteering. We have fundraisers throughout the year that helps to raise the funds so that we can provide free services. So, for instance, our Walk to End Alzheimer's is every year in the fall, and we have several walks throughout Michigan and, of course, nationwide. But even throughout Michigan, we have several walks that are taking place. So people can volunteer the day of. They can volunteer ahead of time to help prepare packets and help set up at the location ahead of time. We also have what's called Do What You Love. It's a fundraiser where you choose whatever activity that you enjoy the most. Maybe it's bowling or baking or golfing or sewing, and you have a team, get a team together, and you raise funds for the Alzheimer's Association. So we have lots of ways that you can get involved. You can also volunteer, by doing some of the presentations that we're doing, or run a support group. So many ways to get involved with us.
Right. Basically, anybody's talent they can do, you can use the assistance and they can help out, and which is wonderful, to do. Can we talk a little bit, is there some different things that are on the horizon as far as like some of the things with research going on and so on? And is there anything like, out there like a blood test or anything that right now that we see? And I know there's, I think, a couple approved drugs by the FDA. Are there some things there that maybe you could just comment on?
Yeah, I mean, definitely we are excited about the blood test that's in the works. It's not quite available, but it is definitely something in the very, very near future where people will be able to get that test and find out sooner rather than later if they have the disease or not. There are two medications that right now people can take advantage of, and Leqembi and donanemab. And you can definitely talk with your physician about the details and if it's available through your physician, they can definitely let you know on that. But these two drugs are targeting those plaques that we talk about, and we're hoping that will help to reduce and hopefully eliminate. So.
And is that just for people to understand, again, they need to, of course, talk to their doctor more on that. But if someone does have Alzheimer's, is that something that can truly be managed possibly through, healthy, eating, healthy things that we're doing, managing stress, doing the drugs? It's something that they can kind of manage throughout their life?
Well, it's that combination. And of course, what works for one person may not work for the other person, but we feel with the combination of these options that we are lowering that risk of developing, and that a person hopefully can still go about doing the things that they still enjoy doing for longer periods of time.
And hopefully this isn't an unfair question to ask, but I'm kind of curious when you said, we are seeing it in younger people. Do we know yet maybe why that we are starting to see it in younger people?
Well, I'm going to say some of those risk factors that we talked about. Obesity, we're looking at high blood pressure. I mean, there are young people who are dealing with high blood pressure, high cholesterol. And so we feel it's important to be talking to our children, talking to our young people, so that they are having healthy lifestyles so that they can age well. Now, of course, there are always exceptions, right? I'm sure that there'll be people listening that said, I did all of the right things and I still have Alzheimer's. So we're not saying that this is a cure, but we are saying that we're seeing results of it lowering the risk of developing.
And as you said, we're all different, and some things work for us, some things don't work. But, like you said, and we all know that sometimes we do everything right and something still, unfortunately, can happen for that. Do you think, Trina, are there some things out there that are misconceptions or people think about this disease that maybe isn't true or maybe not as bad as people might think?
Well, I'm going to say that I still hear when I'm out in the community that, I'm just getting older, and so this is what's going to happen to me. And as I mentioned before, it is not a normal process of aging. So it does not mean that just because I am older that I will absolutely develop Alzheimer's. That is definitely a misconception.
And, and we all, because, I think there's some level of fear, I think, with sometimes this to say, we all know we're getting older. We can't do things we used to do. We can't remember things we used to. And I think once you see your memory start declining, unfortunately, our mind kind of goes to the wrong direction, and you worry, oh my gosh, what's happening to me? But again, I think, Trina, as you said, people, if you feel it, they can go to their doctor and talk more about it. As we kind of wrap up the show, Trina, is there any kind of words of wisdom or things you'd want to share with our audience?
Well, I would just say, get the knowledge, get the information, because again, we don't want people to feel that because you had one of these warning signs that, oh my goodness, I must have Alzheimer's. Get the information, and any concerns that you have, talk it over with your healthcare professional. And to see, because again, there could be other things that are happening that are mimicking Alzheimer's. You know, it could be that you might just have a thyroid condition. It could be that that there's something else that's going on temporarily. It could be the medication that you're taking is causing some memory loss. There's several reasons that it could be. So it's always good to get the information.
Well, thank you again, Treena, for everything you're doing. And also for what the Alzheimer's Association, of America and the Michigan chapter is doing. Thank you again so much. And I thank our audience for watching. I hope you found this really informational, because there's a lot of great information that Treena has provided us. So I thank you for watching and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm Cindy Kainz.